So I'm gonna need your help with this one because I'm not really sure how to rank this game. So I'll lay out all the facts, I'll tell you the good, the bad, and let me know what you think. And please comment down below. And since I'm asking you guys to do my job for me, I might as well offer some sort of reward. So all the comments will be put into a random giveaway. We'll throw an eShop card out to someone. I always number all the names, put them in a random number generator, and we'll do that drawing on Friday. Now, since it has been a few days since I've been on here, I actually have 2 other games to talk about as well. So in total, we're going to cover 3 games today. I hate doing that in one video, but I had to take a little bit of a break, which I apologize for, but I will announce that my 4-year-old daughter is now in tap and tumble class. And I know I'm biased here, but it is adorable watching her dance. Okay, you guys are here for video games, not my life updates. I need to get my manliness back. You think about beer and chicks and muscle car. Okay, I can't do that either. Let's just talk about video game. And the game that I'm confused about is a game called Castaway. So if you're into like that old school Zelda style game, then you might like Castaway, as a good chunk of the game is basically that style. You're going to dungeons, solving puzzles, and you're getting equipment that'll help you traverse the next dungeon better, as well as the limited open world that's available. So in this game, you essentially fall from space and you end up on a planet that is almost prehistoric in the manner of speaking. When you crash land, you pretty much lose everything. You had like a grappling hook, your dog, a sword, something else. And essentially, these monsters come and take 3 of those things away, leaving you with just the sword. And that starts your whole adventure as you go into your first dungeon. And it's relatively simple, with some of those hallmarks of a Zelda-like dungeon, different little puzzles, enemies. Nothing is too overwhelming or difficult. In fact, it's kind of a breeze. You find yourself easily getting through the first one, and then easily getting through the second one, with some very interesting bosses. You make your way to the 3rd dungeon and through the 3rd dungeon relatively quickly, and that's the end of the game. Well, that's the end of the story part of the game, the campaign mode, if you will. You see, after a little cutscene, you discover that you unlocked the tower, so now you can go through 50 levels of the tower and you can ascend while fighting a bunch of different enemies and seeing how far you can get. This almost more works like a roguelike mode with the same combat. Now, if I'm being honest, I tried it and I got kind of bored. I just didn't really care. The combat isn't that complex or that interesting to really hold my attention. Not to say that it's bad or anything, it's just if it's the main attraction, the main thing that you're supposed to be doing and focusing on, it's just really not that complex, and so I got kind of bored. Now, is there a big ending if you do beat the tower? I don't know, I didn't get that far. Because like I said, it was around like floor 15 or 16, I just got kind of bored. And yes, they do ramp up the difficulty, so it does make it kind of difficult, but also I just didn't care. But if I could go back to the campaign mode or the story mode, I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. The only real downside is that it's only about an hour long, and I'm sure there's some people who say, oh, I could beat it in 30 minutes. Yeah, you probably could, and that's my big issue. The game looks really good. It performs well. It's only $6.99, but honestly, it's only really about an hour long. Yes, you have that tower mode. I just don't really feel like there's much added value there, and it makes me wonder exactly how to rank this, because I do think that what is there is good, but for only an hour of gameplay, at the same time, it's only $6.99. They're not asking like a whole ton of money for it, and yes, you could find other games that are on sale for that price or cheaper that offer more, but that's on sale. I don't know how many games actually look like this, perform like this, that are in this price range brand new. So let me know what your thoughts are. Yes, this is probably a game that I would advise putting on a wish list and once it goes on sale, checking it out. But what would you give it? Would you give it a 6 out of 10? An 8 out of 10? What would be your ranking? And I can tell you for me personally, I just feel like it's a half-done game. It felt like it was really building up to something when it ends. So I don't know if it's going to have a DLC or a sequel or something, but as it sits right now, I'm not really sure. For me, I would give it like a 5.5 out of 10. It just feels half-done. A lot of the dungeons were super simple, but it does look good, and I don't know, it just plays like it was a demo. That's my whole thing. Although I'm curious what your thoughts are. What would you rank this game? Next, I want to talk about a horror game called Rewind or Die. But before we get into that, please hit that like and subscribe button. Help the channel grow. It just helps me immensely and means the world to me. Anyway, Rewind or Die is a very interesting game. And I have to say this. First off, if you are somebody who helped make this game, you're one of the developers or whoever, why did you put the VHS filter as default? Honestly, I played this game for like 10 minutes and I was like, I can't play it. The graphics are just so horrible. These visuals are blurry. The screen is like wavy. It's almost making me ill. I can't even do it. And I happened to be looking through the options for something, and then I noticed the VHS filter was clicked on. It was default. I clicked it off and it was like a completely different game. It looked so much cleaner, more crisp. The graphics look quite a bit better. I just don't know why you would put that on as default. I could see adding that in as something that, well, if you want that like nostalgic 80s feel, check this out. But it's like a first-person horror game. And what did you think people in the 80s saw like that? Like their whole vision was like the VHS filter? I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me there either. It would be more like if you're watching a video, it would look like that. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm going on too much of a rant about that. The game itself has you taking over the role of a video store employee. He is basically a Blockbuster. So one night, working on a shift when you weren't really even supposed to be there, you got called in, you have multiple people, including a reporter, a cop, all asking about recent disappearances and if you've seen anything. To note that these same people that have been missing also had memberships to your video store. But you think nothing of it, you close, and then you're harassed by some creepy figure who ends up throwing a cinder block through the front window. While trying to fix the damage, you're eventually chased around an incredibly terrifying series of events where you end up getting caught by this creepy individual. You wake up and you're imprisoned in what looks like a slaughterhouse, and this is really where the game kicks off. Now, so much of the game would actually probably be classified as like a first-person puzzler, because there's not a lot of combat. You're just always trying to run away from this psycho who's chasing you. I think that also adds to some of the horror aspect that you can't fight back, and the fact that this game is like a gore fest. I mean, it just really goes in on the gore. Sometimes, in my opinion, I think it goes a little too far. Like, not like, oh, this is just too disturbing. No, it's just like they're trying too hard. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, it's a fun game, and especially for somebody who likes horror games. I think graphically, it's not awful for an indie horror game. Performance does have some issues with it, which can be a problem, especially during any of the chase sequences or anything like that. But the game comes in at $11.99, which is not a bad price for it. I think the game typically can be wrapped up in about 5 hours, but it's a fun experience. I have no problem with it, and honestly, I would rate it at a strong 7 out of 10. But I can't talk much about it because I can't show very many images from the game, so I have to hurry up and talk about something else. Thank you, YouTube. Anyway, the last game I want to talk about is a game that I just sucked at. It's a game called Skelethrone. Now, this is much like a Metroidvania Souls-like game. Think of like Death's Gambit or one of those. This game is so much more difficult. Now, mind you, I enjoy games like Morbid 2, Dark Souls, Death's Gambit. I don't have a real issue with the games being difficult, but it takes it to a whole new level. Like, I'll be real with you guys. I never made it out of like the 3rd level. I just couldn't do it. So much of the combat relies on you being able to parry or have a perfect block. And the way that a lot of these enemies attack is almost like 2 or 3 parts. The main enemy that you run into, especially in the first area, he does like a tickle attack and then he attacks. So you're trying to block and then block again, and half the time it just doesn't work and you end up taking damage. For me personally, I think a lot of things about the game actually look good, and I do think it performs well, but it's just the controls. They just felt loose. I think they need to be honed in a little bit more, especially when blocking and parrying is like so fundamental to the game. If you don't do that, you die essentially. And it is highly possible that I just suck at this game, and that's why I didn't get very far. But I do feel like I was able to play a lot of these style games and get pretty far in them and do pretty well with them. So I don't know. For me, I have to give this an incomplete because I just couldn't get that far into it. It was too difficult. I feel like the controls really need to be touched up a little bit. Maybe the animations are off a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but I can tell you that when you're going up to have like a perfect block, which is one of the only ways you get an advantage in the actual combat, it is almost like a guessing game as to when to actually pull that block. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. It was very inconsistent. Anyway, that's my thoughts about Skelethrone, though. Let me know if you've played it. Let me know if I'm just bad, which again is highly, highly possible. Anything and everything in that comment section is much appreciated. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Also, apologize again for my voice. I don't know what's going on. It sounds horrible today. But anyway, take care. Bye.